Hello and welcome to Courts Today by LiveLaw, your roundup of the most significant legal developments from courts across India. From riot convictions in Delhi to directions on Sikh marriage registration and landmark rulings on equality, here are the top stories today. In Delhi, a court has convicted 6 men for their role in 2020 Northeast Delhi riots. The additional sessions judge held them guilty of rioting, vandalism, unlawful assembly, and setting a shop on fire in Bhagirathi Vihar. The shop, owned by one Akbari, was looted and burnt by a mob. Witnesses, including police officers, identified the accused as active participants in the violence. The court found that the prosecution had established their guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Conviction was recorded under sections 147, 148, 149, and 427, among other provisions of the Indian Penal Code. The case will now proceed to arguments on sentencing. Moving on, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear next week a petition filed by transgender persons seeking reservation of seats for them in NEET-PG 2024 admissions. The plea asks that some seats to be kept vacant across categories until the counselling process concludes, so that if the court ultimately recognizes their claim to reservation, their rights are not rendered illusory. Senior advocate Jaina Kothari argued that while the Supreme Court has recognized the transgender community as a third gender, there is still no concrete mechanism in place for their admission in postgraduate medical courses. A bench led by Chief Justice of India B.R. Gawai has listed the matter for detailed consideration next week after issuing notice to the centre. Staying in Delhi for this one, as the Delhi High Court has ruled that women cannot be numerically restricted in induction into notified army corps. Justice Mini Pushkarna held that all posts vacated by men must be equally open to eligible women. The court was deciding petitions filed by several women short service commission officers who argued that despite being found fit, they were denied induction into corps such as engineers and signals because ceilings based on male strength. The court observed that such restrictions are discriminatory and contrary to Articles 14 and 16 of the Constitution. It stressed that merit and eligibility must govern entry, not gender, and directed the army to ensure that whenever posts are vacated by men, they are made available to qualified women officers. Next up, the Madras High Court has issued a forceful ruling that equality in worship is non-negotiable, while sharply criticizing the district collector and superintendent of police in Karur for failing in their constitutional duties. Justice P. Pugalendi observed that instead of standing up for citizens' rights, the officers had preserved discrimination and shown themselves unfit for office. The case concerns the Mariamman temple in Chinnadharapuram, which has been shut to public worship since 2018. Only pujas were allowed, supposedly because of fears of law and order issues. The petitioners alleged scheduled caste devotees were being denied entry even after the temple was reopened. Despite the temple being opened following an earlier court order and scheduled caste devotees being permitted inside, there were attempts to obstruct their worship, triggering commotion. Criminal cases have been filed against those who tried to block access. The court has directed that these cases be pursued earnestly and concluded swiftly. Justice Pugalandi lamented that what was achieved in 1939, that is, temple entry for scheduled castes under the Temple Entry Authorization Act in Madurai, now in 2025 can only be restored through court orders rather than through voluntary compliance. The court stressed that a democratic government must protect rights even if measures are needed to maintain public order. Neutrality is not an option when discrimination is involved. Next, in an important development, the Supreme Court has directed all states and union territories to notify rules under the Anand Marriage Act 1909 within 4 months to enable the registration of Sikh marriages. For the uninitiated, Anand Karaj is a Sikh wedding ceremony meaning act towards happiness or act towards happy life. That was introduced by Guru Ramdas. The court was hearing a plea that despite the 2012 amendment making registration mandatory, many states had not framed rules forcing Sikh couples to register under the Hindu Marriage Act. A bench of Chief Justice B.R. Gawai and Justice Sandeep Mehta observed that this was unacceptable and directed strict compliance. The court stressed that the right to register marriages under one's own personal law is integral to dignity and identity, and warned that failure to frame rules within the timeline will invite consequences. Moving on, the Kerala High Court has ruled that strangers to criminal proceedings have no automatic right to certified copies of case records. Justice V.G. Arun was dealing with the petitions from SFIO's case against Cochin Minerals and Rutile Limited, where BJP leader Sean George had sought a copy of the complaint. The court held that under Rule 226 of the Kerala Criminal Rules of Practice, a stranger may apply for certified copies but the court must assess the purpose and give clear reasons before granting or rejecting the request. Referring to the Supreme Court's Saurav Das ruling, Justice Arun noted that certified copies of criminal records are not public documents, and parties whose privacies may be affected must be given notice. Since Sean George already had the investigation report under the Companies Act, that did not entitle him to court records. The High Court quashed the special court's order and directed fresh, reasoned consideration of the request. Meanwhile, the Bar Council of Punjab and Haryana has suspended the licenses of two advocates, Ravneet Kaur and Simranjeet Singh Blassi, after a shocking incident inside the High Court. They allegedly assaulted bar members, including the honorary secretary, and on top of that, Blassi was seen brandishing a sword in the court premises. The dispute began when Kaur's laptop and bag were confiscated, but her matter was still listed. She, along with Blassi, allegedly stormed the executive office, misbehaved and triggered chaos. An FIR has been registered under multiple Indian Penal Code provisions. Pending disciplinary proceedings, the Bar Council barred them from practicing and appearing in court. And finally, the Kerala High Court has sought a response from the Union government over a public interest litigation against the cover of Arundhati Roy's new memoir, Mother Mary Comes to Me. The cover shows Roy smoking a beedi, but without the mandatory health warning prescribed under the Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Act. The petitioner argued this amounts to indirect tobacco advertisement, which is prohibited. A division bench of Chief Justice Nitin Jamdar and Justice Basant Balaji asked whether the petitioner had approached the competent authority under Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Act and posted the matter for September 25th. The court will decide whether the cover amounts to a violation of anti-tobacco laws or not. That wraps up today's edition of Courts Today. Subscribe to LiveLaw for more updates straight from India's courts. I'm Debujit Das. Thank you for watching.